Want to get better and faster at hard surface modeling in Maya? Well, I created a list of my top 10 hard surface modeling hacks in Maya that are sure to speed up your modeling workflow and make your hard surface models a lot better. In the video coming up. What's going on, you modeling beasts? This is jlmussi, and today we're talking about hard surface modeling. And really 10 workflows that's definitely helped me out to just model hard surface a lot faster, but more importantly, a lot more precisely. So unlike organic modeling, where some level of asymmetry is actually expected and adds realism, asymmetry in hard surface modeling is the last thing you want. Things have to be very precise. And that's why knowing certain workflows or certain tools are so important, and it's actually a bit more important knowing certain tools versus being a good artist. Because at a certain level, you're gonna be capped off if you don't know certain workflows in Maya for hard surface modeling. And this list of my top 10 modeling hacks are definitely going to help you speed up your workflow, but really just get that precision that is so important in hard surface modeling. So let's go ahead and begin. And I see students and beginners just make this mistake a lot where they'll start modeling things that are supposed to be perfectly symmetrical and they'll do them one by one. So setting up symmetry and knowing how to setting up multiple planes of symmetry is pretty beneficial. So a lot of times when something's perfectly symmetrical, we don't even need to model even a half. Maybe we can do a fourth and then duplicate that over and then duplicate that half over again. So I'm going to show you how to set that system up. So here I have pretty much a fourth of a cube already here. And then I'm going to go to modify and sorry, it's under edit and duplicate special. And I'm pretty terrible with menus just because most of the things I do have are hotkeyed. So it makes my menu muscle memory a little bit rusty. But make sure that you reset this. Anytime that you do anything on a duplicate special, it likes to remember this. And you definitely want to reset these settings by going edit and then reset settings. So here we reset this. So what I want to do is I want to create an instance. And now I will say that the new mirror tool does have an instance option. But if you're using like an older version of Maya, this is more the old school way that's bound to work in older versions of Maya as well. So I'm going to go here on scale and I'll do -1. Make sure that this is set to instance. Yeah, so I'll set this to instance. I'll have this as -1. I'll duplicate special. So you see here that this is pretty much instance. So if I go to shading and wireframe unshaded, if I go in here and select this, you see that this is going to be flipped over, right? So sometimes it's actually good to be able to visualize more than just the other fourth or the half, right? So we want to visualize the whole thing because we're really modeling a fourth, so we're still missing half of this. So what we can do in this case is go to Object, select both of these, and now we'll flip these over in the Z. So we'll do this again. A cool little hot trick that's built into Maya is middle mousing. So under Edit, instead of going all the way down to Edit, Duplicate Special, what we can do is just hotkey middle mouse here, and it's going to bring up the same tool. And I actually discovered this by accident. I used to use Topology a lot, and you know that was kind of built in. If any of you old school Topology / exercise users are in the building, you know that middle mouse click actually did this, and Maya ported this over. So I actually just happened to stumble this on this hotkey by accident. All right, so we'll go here, and then instead of the 1 here, we can go to -1 in the Z, and then we'll do duplicate special. So now if we select this here, we see that it's going to update pretty much all our details, right? So we're really just working on a fourth. So maybe we came in here, we selected this edge, and we applied a bevel. And then, I don't know, maybe we went in here and we did an extrude. And then we did another extrude. So it's definitely nice. Obviously, you can just go through and model a fourth and then symmetrically do this at the end, pretty much by mirroring. But I definitely like to just see the finished result. So this can become a very powerful workflow in itself. You could even push this further and do radial symmetry. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 planes of symmetry. So we can create a cylinder. And there it is. I'm just going to go ahead and flip this guy over. And I'm going to go ahead and encompass this. I want to make sure that the divisions here are divisible by 6. So let's do this kind of easy peasy and put a value that I know it's going to work with 6. And that also gives us a little bit more divisions. So now, if we take a look at this on wireframe, and maybe I can just scale this down a little bit more. The first thing that we want to do is we really want to work on this half and let this half be flipped over. And then we're going to grab this half, or this 6, and then symmetrize it radially all the way through, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just get my my selection tool here, and I'm just going to paint these 6. And then we have a couple options, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go here so you can kind of see what's going on in perspective. I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to select inverse, and then I'm going to hit delete. So believe it or not, all we really got to do is model on this little strip. And if we set our symmetry right, we're going to be able to see everything update as we work, which is kind of cool. And it's nice to have that visual feedback. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to go to object mode. And I'm going to do pretty much the same thing as before. So we can go to middle mouse click this option. And then I'm going to go ahead and set 1 here. And I'll set -1. Make sure this is on instance. Duplicate special. Boom. Now we have a 6 of this, right? So whatever I do here is obviously going to go ahead and get updated to the other side. Cool. Right. From this point, what we need to do is select both of these. We're going to go, and the key here is obviously this was a cylinder. So pretty much that pivot point is at the pole. But if it wasn't, you definitely want to go ahead and make sure that it is, and basically set your pivot where you want this thing to actually duplicate from. All right, so we are here, and we'll go back to duplicate special, which is middle mouse click, edit again. And then here we have to do a little bit of math. Yeah, the M word, right? But it's not going to be too bad, especially if you methodically think about how many divisions you need right off the beginning. All right, so we're going to set all these to 1, and then rotate. I believe we're going to rotate here in the Z-axis. So we'll go here, rotate, and we're going to need how many copies? Well, we already have 1 out of 6 out the way, so we're going to need 5 additional. And then 6 divided by 36 divided by 6. No, sorry. 360 divided by 6. That's going to be the key right here, right? Because we started out, the degrees is 360, and I hate math, right? But all right, we got 360 degrees, and then we have 6 divisions, right? 60 divided by 6 is going to be 60. Brain freeze for a second. All right. So we'll go ahead and do duplicate special, and Maya spit on my face. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, your boy JL is terrible at math. I will never put you through this horrible pain again. All right. So, calculator, 360 divided by, I think it's you guys. You guys are putting pressure on me, and it's screwing me up. All right. We're going to divide it by 6. So it is 60. So the problem is within our settings. So let's go back here. Go to edit. Why isn't 60 working? We only had one selected. So now, there we go. Math was good. Selection was terrible. Cool. All right. So we have our system set up, and voila. So really, we could just go in here, and maybe I'll go and get my multi-cut tool, start just kind of hacking away at this. And I'm not going to model this for the just sake of time, but you could definitely see the benefit of, you know, doing a workflow like this and having your shape pretty much just update on the fly. All right, so the next method I want to talk about is Booleans and clean. And this is creating a complex geometry with using the unions function, or actually could be any function within the Booleans menu. But what this does is that actually gives you the base of the edge flow, and then you have to go ahead and clean it up. So the Booleans are going to give you a lot of the backbone of a clean shape, and you just have to manually clean it up. And a lot of times it's easier to go this route versus trying to snap to certain components. All right. So we'll go ahead and start off with a cylinder here. And what I'll do here is I'll go back to classic. And in my channel box here, I'm going to go a little bit more dense. So maybe we can do something like 36. And then from this point, I'm going to add a division here along the height. And I basically want, let's just say, another pipe sticking out of this, right? So I have to think about how that's going to play out. And actually, I'm going to add a couple more divisions here. So let's set this guy up to 4. And then from here, I want this to encompass maybe these 4 faces here. So what I'll do is I'll go to face mode. I'll hold down tab. That's going to give me the paint tool option. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and just extrude that inward and give it a, not a thickness, but a offset. So I'm going to go inward here. And this is going to give us 12 divisions to play with, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just nudge this here. And I'm going to leave this here for now. And I'm going to create another cylinder. And here on the settings, I'll set this guy to 12. I'm going to hold down J. That's going to constrain it to 15-degree increments as we rotate. And yep, it's at 90. That's all I need to know. So I'm going to go ahead and do shading, wireframe on shaded. Set this guy to expert here. Getting a little bit more real estate to play with. And I'm just going to scale this guy down here. Right? So now what I can do is put this guy right about here. The placement looks good. So I'm going to select here. Select this smaller cylinder, mesh. Booleans, and I'll go ahead and do a intersection. Oops, sorry, wrong thing. A mesh Booleans. We'll go ahead and do a union. It's going to go ahead and merge these, and it gave us this edge, and that's kind of what we actually needed, right? So we have a couple options. We could basically delete these and then just vert snap, but I think the better option here is going to go, and we're just going to go ahead and select these here. We're going to hit delete. We're going to have some verts left over. So what I'll do here is I'll hit my face mode. I'll go ahead and convert this to a vertice selection. Hit delete. What you'll see once I hit delete, it's only going to affect those hanging verts. That's what I wanted to delete, so that's good. I'll go ahead and select my border edge here. Shift click, select this other one. Shift and right click. And then I'll go ahead and do a bridge. And I don't like how that bridge looks, or maybe not. All right, so let's go ahead and spoon feed Maya the first one and see if it works for us better. So we'll do bridge, that looks good. And now we should be able to do this here. We hit Y again. All right, so now we'll go ahead and go back to bridge, and there it works. So Maya can be finicky sometimes, the way it wants to do things. Sometimes you have to start the process right and kind of spoon feed it the exact direction that you're looking for. What I want to do here is I'm going to take this edge loop here, and then we can take these guys here, and we can just go ahead and scale them right about there. All right, so I like how that looks, and then that's pretty much it for the Booleans and clean. So sliding components definitely has its uses, and we're going to use it here. How you activate those tools. If we go back to classic and we go to the modeling toolkit here, you see that I already have it enabled. I'm going to set this to off, but in this case, we want to move this vert and slide it along this surface, right? So what we can do is we could finagle with the transform tool, but that's not really what we want. We want this to stick to the surface, and for this case, we'll go ahead and activate the surface slide. So I'll go here to my vert selection. I'll go ahead and move this, and there we go. So you see, no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to be able to peel off this face. So working with rounded or curved surfaces, slide comes in extremely handy because of just the nature of that the tool works, and you'll be able to stick to that surface and move your components around without affecting the silhouette. All right, so I could turn on symmetry here, but I'm not. But keep in mind, what I would probably do for production here is just really work on the fourth, and then just symmetrize this over again, okay? But for the case, in this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and just eyeball it, all right? Cool, so now we have that nice little radial flow. I'll go to edit, I'll go to edit mesh. I'll go to mesh tools and insert edge loop. And like I said, just hotKeying everything, you do become a little bit rusty at setting hotkeys. So we could essentially just drop two edges there, one here, one here, one here, and that would work. What we could or should be able to do is select this, and if we delete that, it'll snap, and we really don't have to work about that as symmetry that we did by hand. And then maybe if we wanted to finish this out and add a little bit more details, just kind of get the paint selection tool by holding down tab. I'll go ahead and basically pinch or offset this inward one time. I'll go ahead and do another offset here, and then push this guy using thickness. And then here I can just come in with the multi-cut and just add some quick holding edges. And then for stuff like this, if I wanted to just reinforce it on the inside, it's not going to let me add a edge loop because of these caps here, or this cap in the middle. So usually if I want to give it another reinforcing edge, I just paint the selection in and then basically offset it inward, so it reinforces that shape or that edge kind of on the inside as well. Yeah, so if we smooth this out and then we just go to object mode, this should be pretty clean. So the next modeling hack is to actually use instances, and we used them earlier to do symmetry, but now we're actually going to use them in a different way. And we're actually going to be using the power of instances combined with the power or the ease of use of having things in world space. So sometimes we work on characters where we're slapping items that are rotated in multiple axes, and sometimes that's not ideal to work in, and it's a lot easier to work in world. So you kind of get the best of both worlds if you set a system of instances where you basically have one object in the world, and then you create a instance of that and you align it to your character and see how it updates pretty much on the fly as you update the version that's aligned to the world. So this is a character that I'm working on. Name's The Mechanic by the talented Jason Allen. And this is pretty much how I modeled this belt here. So you see that we have here this mesh that's driving this. So I would have one to edit, duplicate special, and then just create a instance off of this. Okay, so we see that, and we could even go here on orthographics. And let's turn off image planes. So now if I wanted to grab this and just move it, and let me turn off slide. So here, let's say I wanted to go ahead and edit this buckle piece here, right? It's a lot easier to do in world here than it is in this local mode that it's aligned, right? So maybe I would be able to go in here and add an edge loop, just do maybe a small inset, and probably is not a good idea that I have subdivisions turned on. So then I'll just get these guys here. Oops. And I'll go ahead and just go inward on the thickness. Just add a couple holding edges there. And you see that if we just jump here back on wireframe, if we jump here back on a wireframe on shaded, we see that updated. So that was obviously something very simple that I did. But obviously you could see the benefit, especially if you got to really get in there and start pushing and pulling things. That could be very beneficial as far as just kind of working in world space and have it reflect something that's off in local. All right, the next hack I want to talk about is restoring your world coordinates or your world orientation. This is what I mean. So let's just say I have this wrench here, and maybe I want to go ahead and, I'm working here, and I want to put it by our hand and kind of see how it fits, right? And maybe I want to just rotate this, and this axis and this axis here. So this is pretty much in its own local space, but I still have my coordinates, right? So at any point, if I wanted to go back and remodel this, I could always just zero this out and it would snap to world space. But maybe I'm working and I go here and maybe I freeze the transforms. I'm not thinking, I do it by accident. So freeze transforms, right? You see this is all zeroed out. Or maybe instead of doing this so directly, maybe I'm here and I say, you know what, maybe I want to attach a new piece here. So I'm going to go to mesh and then I'll go ahead and combine this. And as soon as I combine this, now my transforms are frozen, right? So it pretty much just froze my transforms because it created that new output mesh. And, you know, maybe I'll just continue working on this and then I come back and I want to remodel this, or I want to add some more details here, and I want to get this back into world spacing. Obviously, you can try to eyeball it and, you know, come in here and start finagling this, but this is not really ideal. And if you eyeball it, it's never going to be as precise. So there's a cool little tool in Maya that is called the Snap Together tool. And this tool can actually help us reset the world spacing. So first we actually need something to have the mesh be able to snap to. So what I'm looking for here in my mesh is things that are pretty much parallel to the world. So I see this plane is going to work. And then this plane is going to work as well. So this is going to work well for this model. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create a cube here. Move it off to the side. All right. So I'm going to select my object. I'm going to go to modify, snap together tool. I'm going to check the option box here. And we want to make sure that move and rotate objects is enabled because we definitely wanted to take that rotation. So that looks good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just exit out of that option. Now you see that we have our cursor enabled. So the first thing that I want to do is look at this and say, well, I have this flat spot here. So I'm going to click here and then I'm going to snap it to this face here. All right, so once I click both, I'm going to hit enter. So now these two are aligned here. Now I want to go ahead and get the orientation going this way. So what I can do here is I can take this guy. I'm going to go ahead and go back to modify. I'm going to middle mouse click. And then I'm going to click here. And I'm going to snap to this face. And now we've effectively reset world coordinates or world spacing on an object that was basically on local and had the transform frozen. And if we double check this with the perspective, the orthographics, this is pretty much perfectly here. It's perfectly straight. And then if we go here to the side view, it's perfectly straight as well. And this is still on local, which we can just go ahead and reset this to world. And there it is. Okay. And from here, we could just go back and take this and freeze the transforms if we wanted to. So the next hack is something that I called duplicate and attach. So for this boot, for example, we have components that are perfectly symmetrical attached to something that is not perfectly symmetrical, right? Which is this boot. If we come in here and we look at it from the bottom, or we look at it from the top, we can see that it has, details that are not the same on either side. So what is a practical approach on basically getting these rings here attached to this boot, right? So here I created these rings, and they were actually first created as instances of each other, and then I ended up just converting them to a mesh. And I'm using the Snap Together tool to basically align it to the faces of the boot. And then I'm just going here and vert snapping and merging down the verts. Now, when you work on something like this, it helps if you work in even numbers. So usually with cylinders, I like to stick to multiples of 8 or 12, things that are even. So if you create your cylinders like 7 or 9, it can make things very hard. You won't have a symmetry line. And really just modeling even surfaces and attaching them can be problematic. So usually with cylinders, it's a good strategy to have even numbers on the divisions. But I'm just finagling these rings here and just getting the rotation a little bit better aligned after they've been snapped. And then I'm extruding inward and just snapping the verts. And really, that's what I try to think about when I'm creating objects that have some symmetry and some asymmetry as well. I try to create as much as I humanly can with symmetry on. And then I'll create the whole, in this instance, the whole boot. And I'll add the asymmetry towards the end of the modeling process. Wait, hold on, dude. Is that... Man, I got bad news. That's that outro music kicking in, and I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But seriously, just looking at this timeline, looks like we're around the 30-minute mark or so. So I knocked out 6 of these hacks for you. And before you barrage me with a hailstorm of dislikes and bad comments, I promise I got you, okay? I'm gonna come back and do another video like this with some more hard surface modeling hacks in Maya, okay? I hope that you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you were able to incorporate this in your hard surface modeling workflow. Hope that it helped. And let me know how it goes. Drop a comment down below. Also, let me know if you guys have any hacks of your own that have helped your hard surface modeling within Maya, so I can know, and also the viewers watching this video can know as well. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time.